All right. Good. I can say good afternoon because I'm on the West Coast today and it's the afternoon here by 1 minute. So, um, good afternoon, everyone. People are just joining. The 30 some of you that were on time or early. We love that. While we're let's see, now we're up to 60 and it's growing. I am going to be the first one to tell you where, oh, James beat me to it. All right, I'm the second one. All right, put in chat where you're at. Good job, good job, James. I just like seeing cities from all over the country. Rochester, Florida, someone on my team in San Diego, Cleveland, Boston, Wichita. All right, this is going to be a great session. If you don't have pad and paper or electronic notes or a recorder, you're going to miss. So don't make sure you're prepared because there's going to be a lot of information that's going to be shared that is very um, that you can implement. They'll be very tactical and helpful to your business and all of our businesses. So um, let me just give it one more minute here. So I want to talk about something before we start, before I introduce our speaker for the master class. We wanted to share something. It was in the news. Some of you have seen it because some of you have been texting or posting on social media about it. Um, we, our company was acquired. We're now part of Lower Mortgage. Lower Mortgage is a national mortgage company headquartered out of Columbus, Ohio. This is a good thing. Everyone is excited. The Movoto.com isn't changing. It's still going to stay Movoto.com. The business we operate is still going to be the business we operate. What this will do is allow us to ultimately create more opportunities for all the agents and teams that we partner with. And that's a good thing for everybody. So if you have specific questions, feel free to reach out, email, message us on social, or you can always email us at support@movoto.com. So, all right, with that, I want to introduce our speaker because this is going to be great. And I want to turn it over to her because she's going to have a ton of information. The reason I know this is because I've known Debbie for a long time. We both started early in our lives. I think I was 20 when I started. Debbie was even younger. She was
18.
18. Um, in Orange County as became one of the top agents, has been for years and years, one of the top coaches in our industry. She's the co-founder and CEO of a company called Forward Coaching, um, and does a great job. Uh, and this is just Chris speaking about Debbie. She teaches the right things the right way, and you guys are gonna like this and gonna get a lot of value. So with that, Debbie, welcome and thanks for being here.
Awesome. Well, we'll pop our slides up and see, Chris and I go way, way, way back. So I was uh, the VP of coaching at a coaching company, and he was a coach there. And he was a really good one. And then he quit because he got too busy. So,
Actually, the reason I quit is I didn't have the patience that you have to do
yeah,
coaching.
I
So
know. Well, it's been great we cross paths, frequently, which is awesome. This is sort of in a way, a basic topic when you think about how to triple your referrals because you hear it a lot. And yet today, I asked Chris, I said, I want you to participate with me. Let's bring some fresh, cool things to the table. I've got a lot of great ideas for you guys, so we'll have some fun with it. Feel free to type in the chat box. We're not too formal, so go right ahead. And then we'll also leave some time at the end just to have some more lively Q&A. But I would love to hear from you guys as we get started. What stops you from asking for referrals? And I don't like to use the word aggressive because that conjures bad things, but maybe more relentlessly or purposefully. We all have our limiting beliefs around certain issues. So let me just see, let's just see what you guys type in. We'll give you a couple of minutes. And I wonder if you get all of the referrals that you think you actually deserve. So we're going to talk about lots of things, but I have a gift. Since Chris and I are friends, and Chris knows friends of mine, Ben and Chris Suarez, very, very well, we decided to gift all of you today at Movado our negotiation master class. So please know there are no strings attached. This is truly just a complimentary gift. We actually sell this course. It was a labor of love to put this together. And you know, Chris, when we did it, it was right at the time when all the NAR changes were happening. And we felt like this is really a time that people have to skill up at a super high level. And so it's not buyer and seller objections, it's true, powerful, masterful negotiation. There's multiple modules, it's all on a great platform, easy to watch on demand. So you don't have to show up for a class. You'll hear a session from Ben. If you know Ben, he's an awesome negotiator. Session with Chris Suarez. And once you're through all the sessions, if you need a little extra time, we've actually left an extra 45 days on that portal for you. So all you need to do is just scan that QR code and it's going to get you in there completely for free. All right. And Chris, your team can let me know. I'm actually happy to extend it to others in Movado who might be watching this later. No problem at all. Right. We just want to do
That's
that for
awesome.
all of you guys.
That's super awesome. And that's a great value for everyone.
Yeah.
So, all right. So there's someone,
How not
and
to
everyone will get a
sell.
recording of this, so you'll get the QR code and that'll all be sent out to you.
Yeah, yeah, we'll make sure. Let me send it. I'll pop it right back up there for a minute. But let's go to Evelyn said, how do I ask for referrals and not sound self-centered? Well, Evelyn, we're going to talk about that today. But I want to ask you guys, let's do a little mental shift. Okay. I'm going to just pick something random here. Some of you have a great CPA or maybe a financial planner, and there's a lot going on, right, in the news and the world and all of that. And you know, maybe you're wondering, how does this impact my finances? What if out of the blue, your CPA called and said, hey, you know what, Evelyn, there's some changes that have just happened. And I really think you will want to know about them because I know you're in real estate. And I just wanted to share this information with you. And you'd think, wow, what amazing customer service. And he's not even charging me right now by the hour, right? Why then do we devalue sometimes the powerful information, the wise advisor that you are and can be to the people in your world, right? So no, we don't want you, Bray, to sound salesy, and we're going to talk a lot about how to do that. You know, Chris, I closed over 3,000 residential transactions in my sales career, and I always say, you know, I had to learn things the hard way, and I'm hoping to help you guys cheat and find an easier way. And the hard way for me was it really took me a few years to figure out just how valuable nurturing the database and relationships are. And Chris, I don't even know if you remember this, but years ago, when I coached your team in San Diego, one of your operations people told me that you had built, and I'm sure it's much larger now, but at the time, a database of 20,000 people. And many of those were people you didn't really even know them. Maybe they tapped into an offer on your radio show. Maybe they went to one of your events or open houses, but you guys collected that data, nurtured them. And you told me once that 7 to 9 listings a month came to you guys from actually strangers, where they would just call in and say, I've been getting your stuff forever, right? So it's not just past clients in Sphere, but those, maybe you can speak to those nurtures and why those are so important.
Yeah, like I always say in real estate, it's all about building relationships.
Mhm.
And so we want to be building new relationships every day. which is the people that we're adding into our database, right? The people that we can then deliver value to. And like Debbie said, you're not your CPA or your or your attorney don't ever call and say, "Hey, I was just checking in. Do you need any legal help
Not
or
for free.
no, if they contact you, and I just got a letter from my CPA, it was about some change, to Debbie's exact example. It was about some changes come up, making me aware they're delivering me something of value. So it's adding those people to your database on a daily basis and having a really specific goal of how many you want to add, and then doing the things that Debbie's talking about to deepen those relationships so that you get business from them, either directly or indirectly through the people they know.
There's a saying I borrowed from a friend of mine, Alan Dalton, and he says you have to expand your range, your reach, and your influence in your community. So I want you to think about anyone and everyone I meet, I could invite them to be part of my information loop. So, Chris, this is something I hear when people come to us for coaching. Agents very often say 85% of my business comes from people I know. However, either they're saying I don't get enough business or my production is just not predictable enough. And Chris and I have lived through a lot of real estate cycles. And I've lived through a cycle that even though the conditions were different, the result was the same, which was past clients and Sphere got a little bit stuck, right? So we all know that the last couple of years, transactions have been down in the country by 40 to 50% because we've got those people, who don't want to give up their interest rate, right? So that may have impacted some of your repeat referral business, which has made you stop paying attention, possibly, right? Because you're like, hey, it's like nobody's moving. Well, we were on last Friday with Mr. Yoon, who's the NAR economist, and he is predicting that prices across the country will go up in the next year 3 to 20%, depending on the market, that sales will increase and they will increase at a higher level next year. He also said new housing starts will be up and tariffs actually positively impact builders. So builders and real estate not connected to tariffs, just like COVID. We did great. Unfortunately, some businesses did not do so great. And that's exactly, his point, the same scenario. He did say interest rates this year, 6.4%. That's what he's predicting. 6.1 next year. So bottom line, guys, your past clients in Sphere are going to start to realize that there's no point in waiting. I'm tired of waiting. And it could be a floodgate of business coming. And we were talking about this earlier, Chris, that he also said that out of 88 million homeowners, almost half either own their home free and clear, 35.2%, 35 million free and clear, and about, I think it was roughly 8 million are already paying 6% or above. But it's been a little stuck. So it's going to break loose. And that's why we really want to pay attention today. And I also hear, people, they love what I do. And I feel though that I lose business because I just don't follow up consistently. So Chris, you've probably seen these stats before, right? I think
Yep.
from a NAR
We see these every year when NAR surveys consumers.
year, and yet we don't learn the lessons, right? So 91% of buyers say they would use their agent again or recommend them. Good for you guys, right? Great job. You're doing a great job. They love you. It could be that, 0.8% move somewhere out of your market, or they're just a little crazy. Who knows? Because there's a few of them out there, right? 74% of sellers say the same, but only 26% actually use the agent they previously worked with. And I'm pretty sure you guys can figure out why that is, right? So it's funny, you and I know Fred said, because we're going to be doing an event with Fred tomorrow in Irvine. So here's a fun thing, guys. As a coach, I have this little challenge with myself that no matter how awesome, because we coach here some of the top in the entire country, no matter how awesome they are, that if I pick apart that business, I can find a gap. And I'm always willing to take on that challenge. So I was at an event with Fred a couple of years ago, and I said to the audience, who here thinks they are fantastic at working their database? Like, hands down, amazing. Because I want to challenge you, raise your hand and let me see if I can find the gap. So, of course, Fred raised his hand. So I bring Fred on stage and I start asking questions. Are you mailing? Are you emailing? Are you texting? Are you calling? Social media? What are you, going through all of these things? He was doing such a fabulous job until I said, are you calling them? And his answer was, oh no, that's the one we've been avoiding, right? So I really want you to think about what stops me from working my database and why am I avoiding it? And so, Chris,
A
this
couple,
one came up,
Debbie, a couple,
right?
yeah, a couple of people mentioned, they don't do because they're afraid they're going to sound salesy. And
Yes,
I have two thoughts on that. Number one, embrace the fact that you're a salesperson,
that's right.
and it's okay to ask
And
for
they
business.
know it.
Yes, and our clients and the people that we meet know it, right? When we tell them what we do. Um, the other thing is, um, the thoughts we have are the things that usually stop us. So we
Mhm.
always, and it's usually the second thought. The first thought is, oh, I should call this person or I should call my database. But then there's that second thought. And so stop listening to the second thought, because the second thought is the one that says, oh, I'm going to bother them. I'm going to come across salesy. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Just if you have the thought you should be calling someone or doing something, take the action.
Yeah. And on the being desperate or needy or pushy, to me, I think of pushy as I'm trying to force someone to do something they don't want to do. That's very different than if I just called and said, "Hey, Chris, I was thinking about you the other day. I just watched this economic report and webinar, and there was some new data coming out, and I thought, hey, maybe Chris would like an update. Pretty soon we're going to be at the middle of this year, and I thought maybe you might have some questions about the market in general. Is there anything you would like to ask me?" And he's probably going to say, well, how is the market? And I always want to have just enough to talk about, data, not opinion, not hype, just, well, here's what's going on. So, for an example, I see Dave saying that there's just such a struggle right now in the Florida market. And I'm noticing that in resort markets and luxury markets. And I feel that part of that could be those people may have, they might have discretionary money, and this is an optional move, not a must move. So they've been kind of watching what was going on with tariffs, and Mr. Yoon said some of them put their money temporarily in gold, and his hope was they're going to pull that out and now go into real estate. So it's temporary cycles that we always go through in real estate. But in those cycles, that's when sometimes we stop making those calls that we should, right? And that's when we lose that connection. Now, sometimes people will say to me, well, they know I'm here. I did a great job. Won't they just call me if they have a need or they have a referral for me? But you know what, Chris? Sometimes, I'm going to stay on that one for a second, they may not know that you actually need or want a referral. Haven't we all done this? I know I've been guilty of it. You go rushing into some social event or something. People know you're in real estate. You're running late. You're a little frantic. And they're like, oh, well, oh, hey, how are you? I'm so glad you came. You're like, oh, so busy, just crazy busy. Sorry, I'm late. Do they think you need another referral? Or when they say to you, how's the market? How's business? And you say, oh, it's great. I'm super busy. maybe we should say instead, it's good. Thank you for asking. You know what, though? I absolutely always have time to help another great customer. Hey, you know lots of people. Can you think of anybody who might need my help, even if they just want to ask me a question? I'd be happy to help them. Come from that passion of, I love what I do. I'm happy to help. Now, here's another reason sometimes they may not give you all the referrals they should. They may not understand all the price points or the market that you service. Haven't you guys had this happen where somebody will say, "Oh, my sister bought a house." You're like, "Really? Where?" And it's like 10 minutes from your market. And you say, "Wow, why didn't you refer her to me?" "Oh, I didn't know you did that." Or I didn't know you did that price point, or I didn't know you'd sell a condo. I thought it'd be too cheap. So, Chris, my husband's been in the business 30 plus years, and I tell him that he should always say, I sell everything from condo to mansion. Nothing's too big or too small. And I'm licensed in the state of California. Now, he primarily works this LA Orange County market right here near, South Coast Plaza. However, if they call him, he can always refer it to someone like you, you guys who are here and in a different market that might serve them. But I want them to know we're not too busy in all of the markets that you serve, right?
That's a really important key, or a really important point. I can't tell you how many times when I was actively selling, I'd bump into someone or I'd call someone and found out they did something and they'd say, oh, or they'd call me and say, hey, I know you only sell, expensive homes. Do you have someone that could help me with my home? Or could you refer me to someone? And
Mhm.
I'd be like, why do they think that? Like, I sell homes from all sides, but it's because either the image they had or the image I was putting out that caused them to think that. But that wasn't their problem or their fault. That was mine. And mine for not staying in touch and communicating with them and sharing that message that, hey, I work with all types of properties, all types of people. I'm licensed in the state of California. Otherwise, you never know what they might be thinking, and that could be costing your business if you're not staying in touch with them.
Yeah, and you can say, and through this group that I'm involved with called Movado, I mean, I have people all across the nation that if you're leaving the state, I can get you connected. Michael talks about, well, Kimber, I'll come back to that in just a second, but Michael talks about giving 5 business cards to everyone. Fantastic. That's a great practice. Here's the thought I would add to that, Michael. We had a painter recently at our house. He painted the outside. He did such a good job. He was right on the schedule. He didn't damage a single plant. It was done perfectly. He came back and did the final walkthrough to make sure we were happy. And he did that same thing, Michael. He handed me about 5 business cards and he said, I know you are all in real estate, so I would hope that you would keep me in mind if any of your friends need a painter. And I said, sure, of course. What did I do? I took the cards and I put them in the kitchen drawer. And what's weird, because I knew I was going to be talking to you guys today, when I opened up the kitchen junk drawer to get a pen to write a note to myself, I saw those cards there and I haven't given a single one away. Now, I might, it's not a bad idea, give those cards out. Oh, absolutely. But you know what pluses that even just a little bit more? If in that moment, when I said, yeah, sure, I will take those cards, if he would have said, and by the way, while we're talking about it, you know a lot of people. Can you even think of one person today who you think might have a need for my services? I'd be happy to reach out and see how I can help. And as I was thinking about that, Chris, this morning, I literally can think of 2 of my friends that I could have given him, that I should have given him, but I had a lot on my mind. I just took the cards and I threw them in the drawer. So think of it as stacking those good practices. Give them the cards, but ask for one person today who might need my help. And Chris, you and I were taught years ago the memory joggers, right?
Yep.
Somebody at church, somebody at work, somebody on the kids' sports team, just to get them to slow down for a minute and think about it. Now, Chris, I want you to take this one because it's come up twice here. I love the question. Basically, that we need to consider how different generations prefer to communicate, or I think of it as the different channels, right? We've got social media, email, texting, phone calling, direct mail marketing. Any comments you want to make about different generations and how they would communicate?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's super important. If any of you are my or Debbie's age and you have kids and you call your kids, you're often to get a response via text saying, "What's up?"
Right.
And now, as a dad, it's like, what do
By
you
the
mean?
way, it really annoys me when they do that. It's like,
It's super, super annoying.
am I not
But but it's I think it's probably annoying to them that I'm calling them and not texting them.
in?
So we're both annoyed. But understanding who the people are in your database and communicating with them in a way that they're going to be comfortable communicating. I get a ton of people that communicate with me over by messaging me on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, and that's fine because I know that's what they're comfortable with. Other people are texting, other people are phone calls. Someone mentioned earlier in the chat about handwritten notes, which I think are great. So you want to just be aware, and this speaks to a bigger issue of not treating everyone the same. So even in our database, when we're sending out communication, not sending the same communication out to all 20,000 people, right? Like segmenting your database and communicating with them in a way that makes sense. So if they're prospective sellers, they're getting a communication, or if they're a past buyer, or whatever the situation is, all those little things make it more personal. The more personal the interaction, the more likely they are to engage with you.
Yeah, and I think on the thought, I think of it like a web of connection, Kimbra. So if you had a past client program, it would probably include all of those things that Chris just said. But you might say, well, this generation I know prefers text. It's a little dangerous though to just rely on on texting someone because you're not really able to get into a discussion with them. But here's a thought about that. Texting that I've seen be very effective follows a format statement question. So, for example, if I just say, "Hey, Chris, it's Debbie. I was thinking of you. Hope you're well. Hey, call me if you need anything." That's not really super effective. It's okay, but it's not really going to necessarily accomplish much. But if I text Chris, and I always want to say, who I am in case he didn't store me in his phone, but hey, Chris, it's Debbie D. Grote here. Hey, I just got some news on an economic forecast for the rest of the year. I was wondering, when do you have time this week to jump on a call for 5 to 10 minutes? I will catch you up. When would be good? So, statement, hey, I just got this news. Question, when would you have time to jump on a call? Now, it could be that they don't reply, but guess what? 95% of people read their text in 5 minutes. So they saw it. So don't be offended. Maybe they just don't care right now, or they're on a beach in Cabo having a margarita, right? And they're just not in that zone. Some might text back and say, hey, thanks for thinking of me. All good though. We're not moving. That's fine. Again, I connected. They don't need anything. And the ones that say, yeah, I would like to talk, there's something there, right? Something potential that they might be planning. And our friend Ben Kinney, his favorite line is, I'm curious, what are your real estate related plans for the future? So definitely hit all the points, the web of connection, but don't avoid calling just because you think, oh, that generation prefers text. It is one of the strands in that web of connection. What about this one, Chris? I feel guilty because it's been such a long time since I reached out. We hear that one all the time, right?
We hear it all the time, and I love that one. So, I, the first thing that came to my head is something you and I have heard a lot, Debbie. Get over it. You know,
Yeah.
like the they they aren't thinking about that, and nor do they. Like, if you've ever had someone contact you that you haven't heard from in a long time, you don't think, oh gosh, why haven't they contacted me? Or, I must not be important or anything else. Usually it's the same, you have the same thought, like, wow, I should have reached out to him. I can't believe she had to reach out to me. I should have been in touch with her. So it's just a useless thought, and a useless feeling that you're creating with that thought that's just going to stop you from doing the things you need to do. And then here's the other thought I'll share is, what's worse, having that thought and that feeling, or seeing their property show up, as a listing with some other agent, or finding out that they bought, a $2 million house with some agent they met, 2 months earlier. Um, those were the things that would cause me to make the calls when I may have had a thought like that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that whole thing up because I often joke and say, like, we know that ideally, with a past client or a great sphere of influence, at least quarterly, we should be connecting. And you might have your hot list. You and I know someone, Daryl King in Canada, who I coached for many years. Daryl's team would do 1,000 transactions a year. And, Daryl always told me that he had his 12 apostles. These were his 12 people who just went out and told everyone about Daryl and gave him lots of referrals. Well, he did sporting events with them and special birthday gifts and called them a couple of times a month because that was his special group. But then we've got the next quality group that quarterly, every 60 to 90 days, depending on the market, but maybe it's been years. But you know what, guys? They aren't sitting there thinking, gosh, it's been 3 years, 3 months, 21 days, and 2 hours and 5 minutes since I heard from my real estate agent. They like you fine. They're just not thinking that you're supposed to be calling. Chris, though, there's something that you could do if they're really hung up on this because it's been a really long time. Send a letter. Start first by sending a letter. Hey, I've been thinking of you. I know it's been a while. Here's a few updates. I'm going to be reaching out. Love to connect and just catch up on how things are for you. Then, tell them call me if you'd like to schedule something. Now, a couple weeks later, if I haven't heard from them, I'll follow up with an email version. Couple weeks later, if I haven't heard from them, I'll follow up with a text. Then maybe I'll reach out on social media because I'm kind of warming them back up. Also, maybe making myself feel a little bit more comfortable. So, as Chris said, get over it, right? So, other limiting beliefs. Somebody said to me once, just because you get paid well when you do your job doesn't change the fact that you contribute to people's lives every day. Well, yeah, but if I call them, it's just because I want a commission. So you're a salesperson. Be proud of it. If they have plans, they need help. Every business needs new customers to stay in business. And they know that, right? So, Ben, this is Ben's favorite phrase. We tend to complicate things to justify our inaction, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just
Another thought along that line is, we we think everything we do and say needs to be perfect, so we don't do anything because it's not perfect. And it couldn't be farther from the truth. I've told my team, I've told agents forever, um, the ready, aim, fire is like the kiss of death. Just fire, just fire, just fire.
Evelyn feels like you're talking directly to her. Yeah, that means you're hitting a nerve there. So just ask yourself, what would my business look like if I could double and triple my repeat and referral? And, and if you wanted to right now, just for fun, you could type in the chat box, how big actually is your database? Not maybe not everyone that called in and came through the Movado portal, but your quality past clients in Sphere. How big is that? And then do the math. If in the next 12 months, 10% either personally transacted or sent you a referral, how many transactions would that be? And now multiply that by your average rate of commission. And then what does that equal in terms of a gross commission check? No matter where you are in the country, I know here in Orange County, our dollars per deal are bigger, but it's still lots of dollars no matter where you are in the country, right? So why Sphere is awesome? Less rejections, they trust you, and you know them well enough that you could suggest potential opportunities to help them build their wealth in real estate. Please own that. As you're dialing somebody, think about, who are they? What's going on in their life? Or, hey, maybe they're in that, 5-bedroom house in Huntington Beach and their kids have moved. And in fact, their kids moved to Arizona and maybe they want to downsize with distinction. Or, hey, I heard their daughter's getting married. Maybe they want to help her buy her first home. So make it interesting too for you and for them. And don't be devastated if they say, "Mm, no, I'm not ready right now." That's not actually a rejection. They just didn't need you in this moment, right? And so, why your sphere might not be as productive as it could be, I think we've hit most of these. One, though, about sending spam. I what may make somebody mad here today, but I have a little pet peeve about sending spam. And the one I hate the most, Chris, is when they send an email that says it's time to change your clocks, or they send a postcard that says it's time to change your clocks. Because I think of our touches almost like we're on a budget, right? We don't want to use too many. We want them to be relevant and valuable. My phone is going to change itself automatically. And so what if I wake up an hour late on Sunday and figure it out? It's not an important message. I've picked on this for years. And this last time the clocks changed, I did get a postcard in the mail, but it arrived on Tuesday after the Sunday that the clocks changed. So it was even more useless.
Yeah, it goes back to what we said earlier in the conversation about delivering things of value. And that's so much more important today than it was yesterday or 2 years ago or 20 years ago, because today people have access to so much information. They're getting hit with so many options, with so many opportunities, with so many offers. As an agent, we need to make sure we're the ones that are bringing them those options, those offers, and bringing them things of value. And if you do that, and you do that consistently and do that over time, you'll start to get the benefits of it. But it's not the just checking in or the sending stuff of little or no value.
Well, if you think about that, what do they see as valuable, right? Off market opportunities, tips and information, knowledge that keeps them ahead in terms of decisions that they need to make. And, First Team Real Estate, Chris, here in Orange County. And years ago, the owner, Cam, hired me to conduct some focus groups with groups and groups and groups of home buyers. And we asked all sorts of questions. One of them was, what's valuable in an agent that you will choose? Every group said the same thing. Basically, it was, they are a market expert. They can help me interpret the data. They can help me find the hidden opportunities. That's what they want from you, not it's time to change the clock, right? So I was watching this show early in the morning when I'm up at like 4:30. I always watch these about properties, or not the real estate shows like, selling Hollywood, but like all across the country. I love to see houses and markets. And this was beautiful estates across America. I don't remember the name of the show. It wasn't about real estate agents, it was about beautiful homes. So they're interviewing this couple in their mansion. It was a mansion in Atlanta, $5 million, which buys a little bit more than it does here in Orange County, Chris, but beautiful property. And they said to this couple, "How did you find this property?" And they said, "Oh my gosh, it's a hilarious story. Our real estate agent sold us a fixer upper. We paid $1 million. We put $1 million into it. We were actually on the patio having a glass of champagne because we had just written the last check to the contractor. The realtor called and said, 'I found your forever home.'" And they said, "You're kidding. You're crazy. We just finished this one." I know. Just take a look for fun. They loved it. They bought it. They obviously had money, so the realtor knew that, right? Or she probably wouldn't have called. But I could tell by how the conversation went. They bought this $5 million property. She listed and double ended theirs for 3 million bucks. So she did basically 11 million in volume. I wonder if you or I would have called them, right? What would have been the story in our head? It might have been, "Oh, they'll never move. They're going to be there for lifetime. They just finished that house. I know they'd love this, but yeah, they won't be interested." Call them, because all they can do is say no, but they will remember that you are bringing opportunities and putting opportunities in front of them, right? So I thought that was a pretty cool story.
Love
So,
it.
here, can you expand it? Look at your cell phone contacts. Who are you doing business with? Who have you forgot to put into your marketing loop and add them? Vendors and affiliates. I know that sometimes they don't always give us referrals like they should. And I get it that they know lots of other real estate agents, but I used to ask, can you just give me one something once a quarter? A referral, a great connection, an opportunity to participate in an event where I might meet people. So I'm going to hold them accountable also, even though I know they can't give me all their referrals. And just remember, it's a work in progress. So you're always looking to feed it, you're always looking to grow it. And Chris, something came up the other day. An agent was sharing with me that when they sell a buyer a house and that buyer brings friends or family on the walkthrough or on the inspection, they said, "I suddenly realized, why am I not capturing their information and adding them to my information loop? I'm right there with them. They've heard about me for a couple of months. Why not?" And I thought, wow, what a great idea, right? What about adopting clients? So it's the other side of your deal. You had the listing, buyer agent brought it. You don't know who that agent is. They're not even local. Would you ever adopt the client on the other side of the deal, Chris?
Only 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I can't, and I probably got as many or more listings from that as I did anything else in the future. Because here's what we all know. The agent that sold the house rarely ever follows up
Right.
for all the reasons we've talked about today. And I provided value to that consumer who bought my listing, month after month, year after year. And when they think about selling or they have a situation come up, it's only natural who they're going to contact.
Yeah. At that point, they're not under a contractual agreement. So other agents are going to be marketing to them anyhow. Now, if it's your friend in the office, of course you respect that. But hey, everyone has the right to market to anyone they choose once there is no longer an active contract, right? So why not? So organize your sphere in a quality CRM. I think of it like farming. It's like planting and nurturing the seeds for a future harvest. Keep awesome notes of every conversation and interaction. If any one of you have ever reached out to me to have a conversation about joining coaching, and you call me back, like a guy this morning, he said, Debbie, I called you 5 years ago. I said, actually, it was 5 years ago and 1 month and 3 days. I had the notes, I had the date, and I said, this is everything you told me last time about where you needed help. He said, I still need all of that same help. You should have made me coach with you 5 years ago. But see, he was impressed because I had all of those notes. It made him feel special. Now, a lot of the CRMs, like the one Ben owns, Brivity, they have great market reports, listing alerts. I know Movado has a lot of cool tools. I hope they're using everything that they've got to drop that web of connection. So anything you want to add to that, Chris?
No, I think it's yeah, and we said this earlier, but don't think you have to have the perfect solution, the perfect thing to say, or the perfect thing to do. Just start doing it, start taking the action, and you'll get better, you'll get more dialed in, you'll learn from what's working, what's not working.
And social events are great. They were never, speaking of just take some action, everyone has their preferences. I preferred systematic approach, market reports, calling them. I was never big on having big client parties, which was probably a bad thing. I just wasn't that social. Some of you are so super social and you do an amazing job with those, or you host a housewarming when they move in and you meet their friends, or maybe you love to do educational events and opportunities on Zoom. I love to encourage you once a year, reach out and offer an annual real estate checkup. For many years, I coached Farmers Insurance nationally, and they had something they did every year. I think they called it the FFR, Friendly Family Review. And basically, they would reach out and say, let's look at your insurance situation. Do we need to make any changes? Can we save you any money? What questions do you have? Why would we not do that also? They go to the doctor, they get a medical checkup, hopefully every year. So give them a real estate checkup. It's just a service. So contact those prospective clients and A Sphere and your past clients at least quarterly, triple A's monthly. We talked about some scripts. I always recommend, Chris, have a theme for that quarter. That just makes it easy. So if you said, hey, I'm going to start calling in June, offering a mid-year real estate checkup, that's easy. Use the same script for everybody. Also, mortgage information. Maybe you're wishing a happy birthday, or maybe you're just inviting them to an event or an open house. Some of you may do the pie pickup around Thanksgiving and Christmas. I never did that, and I am shocked by the response to that. I'm thinking, wow, that's something I definitely should have done. So here's a cool thing: theory of reciprocity. This is a real psychological thing that applies to everyone except psychopaths. So there's like 10% of the population is psychopath, actually, truly. So this won't apply to them, but everybody else this applies to. Have you ever noticed, like, let's say you're getting on board a Southwest flight today, Chris, and you're struggling, you hurt your shoulder at the gym, you're struggling with your bag, and somebody takes it and puts it up there and puts your jacket and closes the bin, and you get that feeling of, I feel grateful, but I also feel uncomfortable because I need to repay that favor. And I can't feel comfortable until I repay that favor. And you say, hey, here, take my drink ticket, right? That's called theory of reciprocity. So you're doing a great job. When you have done something for them, that's a big moment, like got their offer accepted and they're thrilled, solved an appraisal issue, worked through a tough request for repairs, and they're saying, thank you so much. Hey, it is my pleasure. I'm so happy to be of service. Hey, I have a quick favor, may I ask? Sure, what can I do for you? Your deal's going to close soon. I would love to find another amazing person like you to work with. I just wondered, could you think of one person today who might just want to meet me, talk to me, ask me some questions? See, in that moment, they are 50% more likely to make a greater effort to give you someone than they normally would because they want to repay that favor, right? Kind of weird, right, Chris?
Yes, it is. Yes. It is. And I'm just, hey, Debbie, I'm looking at the clock and we have like 9 minutes left. I don't know how much more
I think we're
content we
pretty
have.
good. Let's do it.
Um, I want to give everyone a chance to ask any questions they have. So if you have a question, you can use the Q&A button or you can put it in chat. Uh, I know, I know I've taken a lot of notes and things that I hope my team is listening to and they're going to tell me the things they're implementing. And I'm sure many of you have also. So any questions you have, let us know what they are so we can ask those. Debbie, let's see if there's, uh, I'll ask a question while we're waiting for others. The, the greatest or the easiest people to get business from is people that we know or past clients, people in our database. And that seems to be the group that most people are most reluctant to contact. And we talked, on this conversation, we've talked about some of the reasons why and some of the things you can do. But if there was just, one thing you're going to tell everyone in regards to that, what would it be?
Make it easy on yourself. And when you are in relationship with that person, like closing a deal, or it's someone that you know well, say, I would like to do something for you if it would be all right with you. I'd like to send you some important bulletins and updates, and I'd like to make a note to myself every quarter just to give you a very quick phone call and give you an update on the market. Would that be helpful? Do I have your permission to do that? And they're going to say, yeah, sure, that'd be great. And you say, okay, I'm going to put it in my calendar. And I promise you, each quarter you'll hear from me. So, see, Chris, now when you call them, you can say, I promised you I would call you. And I just wanted to keep that commitment I made. Here's the market report. Here's what's going on. I think it makes it a little bit easier, even with your leads that you're following up on, when you make a plan with them and say, this is when I'll call you next, right? Because
Yeah,
then I think it takes away that awkward feeling.
yeah, I agree. Krista made a comment. She said, I've noticed that timing is everything for asking for a review. I like to do it right when we go under contract. Is there, and I think that's a great idea, Krista. When else do you think is a good time to ask for a review or referral, Debbie?
Anytime they're happy, right? Any time. So we actually have scripts for asking when you first sign that buyer on a buyer agreement, or you first sign that listing agreement and the relationship is great and strong, and I appreciate this. I'm going to do my best to just be your agent for life and just wow you with my service, and I hope you'll use me again and refer your friends and family to me. Oh, on that thought, is there anyone you can think of today? So I'm with her. Don't wait till the end of the deal to ask for a referral or a review. They don't think that that's a thing. That's in our own head because you're earning both of those all throughout the transaction. So you're just looking for those moments where they're really excited and they're really grateful. And then we want to be sure to train them. How do they deliver that referral? So, Chris, I appreciate you giving out my card. That would be great. The thing is, sometimes people will be shy or they may lose the card. So, if you have someone I should connect to, would you also maybe text connect us, or email connect us, just so that I know they want to meet me and I can reach out to talk to them. And then I'm going to give, Chris a message or a call back and let him know how it went. I'm never going to give away personal information like, oh, their credit was terrible. I couldn't help them. Hey, Chris, it just wasn't the right time they discovered for them to make a move. However, I thank you so much. Thank you for thinking of me. Maybe we'll get the next one done. See, I'm not going to give away any of their private information. I think that's really tacky. But I am going to call and thank him. And if Chris gives me a referral and it's someone I do not want to work with, I'm not going to work with them just because Chris gave them to me. I'll find the right person to help them. I'll call Chris and say, as much as I appreciated the referral, I knew my associate had a special niche that would be better for them. But hey, please send me another one. Right. So, it's just as practical, right? Show up, deliver 5-star, and when they rave about you, use those moments. You may want to direct mail. It is alive and well. And I definitely encourage you to think about each customer, as we said earlier, what is an opportunity I should be discussing? And again, don't wait. Don't wait till the deal closes. And just remember what we said earlier, invite everyone into your information loop. And when you focus on that 5-star service, you're going to create those raving fans. So let's
All
see.
right. We've got time for one last question.
Yep,
So,
James.
Debbie, how do you stay motivated when nurturing your leads until they're ready to buy or sell or both? Like it could be a long time. How do you stay motivated?
Just have a system, James. And because I know if it pops up, I set a reminder, they're in my CRM, it pops up, it's time for me to call them. I just need to not overthink it. And I just need to make that call. And there was an MIT study that said the average lead can take 6 to 12 attempts or conversations to convert. The average salesperson follows up 1 to 2, maybe 3 times, but 50% of leads never get a follow-up. And it can take 6 to 18 months to convert. So I just have to be patient. I know there's now leads and there's future leads, right? So Chris, thanks for inviting me. I hope they could just take away 1 or 2 things to put into action.
I think you gave several things. If they don't have several things, they weren't paying attention. Everyone will get a copy of this. We do these master classes to provide value to you guys. We appreciate you. Hope you have a productive rest of the week. And Debbie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing and for giving everyone access to that free course.
Absolutely. And if you have a question for me, just email Debbie@forwardcoaching.com. All right, guys, have a good day. Bye-bye.